not me having a third cat. Hi, I'm Isabel. I'm a musician, and today we will be rating my summer reads.
Not that being a musician has anything to do with it, but you get the point.
This summer, I read so many books. This is like a new hobby for me, and so I was just starting to finally dig into the world of reading after my friend recommended me 2 books during the early spring, kind of late winter, which were All the Right Places and The Fault in Our Stars. Both were really good, and I think that was basically the catalyst into getting me to read so many of these books. Most of them are of my own volition, but some of them are definitely recommended by a friend of mine. And since May, I have not been in a reading slump, besides maybe a few books. I do not have most of these books with me. I would go to the library and get them, or I would borrow them from a friend. I have like 2 right here. One of them needs to go back to the library, and then the other one I actually own. Disclaimer, if you read any of these book series and you love them, we are going to be best friends. Like there's no question about it. Like if you read these books, I will love you. So for June reads, we read 5 books. The first book I finished, or series I read and finished during June, was The Vow of Thieves. The first book is Dance of Thieves, and the second is The Vow of Thieves. I rated them both 5 stars. I am obsessed with this series. I love enemies to lovers like so much. I cannot.
Stop it. Get some help.
It was amazing. The plot, everything. I just loved how everything came together. And it's only 2 books. I mean, these are big books. They're like 600-page books, but it was the perfect size for me, and there was never a dull moment. I was always waiting for the next thing, sometimes not even sure like what was going to happen, but when it did, it made so much sense, and I just love the writing and everything about it. So this is Dance of Thieves series by Mary E. Pearson. The covers also were absolutely beautiful with the sword emblem and everything, and it was really simple and easy to draw your eye into, so I would definitely recommend it as one of my favorite reads. Next, I finished the Cruel Prince series by Holly Black. Yes, this is a very basic enemies to lovers read. I absolutely fell in love with the series. This is one of my favorite series, or one of the books in here are my favorite books out of the series. I love it so much, and
So
I
if
just
this
love the lore
caught in its
behind it.
natural habitat as it climbs the trees looking for prey, but alas it reaches the top and there is none. Hopeless, it slowly slinks its way down, but then, oh wait, it loses its footing and it drops.
So I'll give you my ratings. I rate them all usually like individually, and then I do an overall series rating. So The Cruel Prince I gave 5 stars. I love how it turned out, and everything about it just works so smoothly. There were a few parts where I was like, what? And like, like you'll understand if you read it, because it is absolutely crazy. I can't explain it. You will definitely have to read this book. If you read this book, I mean, you just have to. It's amazing. I love the romance aspect of it and how it was going to lead you down one path and takes you to another, and it's just beautifully made, and all the words and just the way she describes things makes you really be able to easily visualize it in your head. Next was The Wicked King. That's the next book in the series. The Wicked King was my absolute favorite. If you read it, you will know why. I think it's a common, well-known favorite out of the series for that to be. Everything about it came together. It made you feel warm and fuzzy, but the ending, I cried in the ending. I was like, what the heck, Rooney, man? The ending was so unexpected, and I absolutely hated it and loved it at the same time. Actually, I mostly just hated it. But it still made the book so good because it gave it an unexpected twist, even though I feel like you could have totally done without the 3rd book if you just ended it there. Maybe, I don't know. There were some unresolved things that needed to be resolved, so I guess that's good. So the last one is The Queen of Nothing. The Queen of Nothing, I gave 3 stars. I hated, I didn't like it at all. It was just so weird. Like the ending, like near towards the end, it was just so weird. And then the first half was like super stupid because like she's getting her way back, and I just feel like that wasn't at all necessary, and it made me really angry. I loved the ending to that book, but it was just so uncalled for. And I didn't like it nearly as much as the other books. So overall, if I was to combine all these stars, I would say 4.25 series, even though it was one of my favorite series of all time, especially The Wicked King. The last book of June was The Selection by Kiera Cass. There's actually 5 books in total if you count Happily Ever After, and then there's one more after that, which is about her daughter. But I didn't read those because, like, after the last book, I just wasn't into it anymore. I got tired of it, and I was just like, no. No. Okay, so for The Selection, I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. If I was going to put this series, I'll talk more about the series in my July reads in a second, but if I was going to like summarize this, I would say it's bachelors but royalty with a Hunger Game type of rebellion. It's the beginning of July where I finished the rest of the Selection series. The Elite I rated 4. It was good, and we finally got to know one of the main characters more, and that really warmed my heart, and I really like that. Of course, I gave it 4 because like I'm not super into it in the first place. It's a really basic plot for me, and it just wasn't interesting enough. There were parts where I was like, you know what I mean? And then the last book, the one I rated 5 stars. I love the ending. I cried at the ending. It broke my heart. I also cried actually in The Elite as well, when something happens to the best friend of the main character. And it absolutely broke my heart. I think I might have also cried a couple other times. I don't know. I cry a lot, if you can tell. So if I was going to summarize the Selection series, I would say I enjoyed it. I was engaged, but lackluster and basic. The next series I started was The Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. This is a 4-book series. It's so long. I do want to say though, some parts it was super engaging, and some books it was just uncalled for. The first book I rated 5 stars. Absolutely love it. Second book, 5 stars. Third book, 5 stars. I think I rated these all 5 stars because I cried in every single one of them. I mean, that's not a reason why you should rate everything 5 stars, but it gave me an emotion, and for me that means I felt something, I connected to the characters. Fourth book was so hard to get done. It was just so long and so uncalled for, and one of my favorite characters died, and I cried, and it was just a mess of so many things, and I couldn't do it. I mean, of course I finished it, but I was just like, we did not need a 4th book. I do have a rating on here, but it's going to be a spoiler. Like recently when I finished The War Storm, I had finally gotten Goodreads by then. Check out my Goodreads. Anyways, I had finally gotten Goodreads by then, so I did do a review, but it is a spoiler. So if you haven't read the book, don't. Please, please, please read the book first before you read my review, because I like my review, but I don't want to spoil the book at all for you guys. I fell in love with the villain. Okay, I'm gonna be honest, I fell in love with the villain. It's another, I don't know, enemies to lovers, lovers to enemies, and enemies to lovers again. I mean, no, and lovers to enemies. So it's a whirlwind. It's a lot, honestly. It went on for way too long. It should have ended with the 3rd book. It could have probably even ended with the 2nd book if it was just written differently. And I honestly don't know why she felt the need to make 4 books. She could have easily ended it in 3 and not gone through all the trouble. There were POVs in the 3rd and 4th books, which were really interesting, and I honestly, like, that was really cool for me. There was POVs of the love interest, there's POVs of the villain, there's POVs of side characters, and that was kind of cool, but I was just like, okay, what's the point now? where are we going with this? I do want to say though that this series is worth it. At least the first 3 books are totally worth reading because they are amazing, like chef's kiss, especially to the first one, because there's so many twists and turns like that you would have never expected, and it is a really good read, honestly. The last book I did finish in the beginning of August just because it took me so long to read it. Most of these books I read online. I don't know if that affected it or made me go even faster, but like most of the other books I could easily finish probably in like 3 to 4 days. This book took me like a solid week and a half. I mean, it might not seem bad for non-readers out there, but for me, that was just like, no. Okay, and a more recent read is The Bird and the Blade. This cover, first of all, beautiful. I love it. This book is by, The Bird and the Blade is by Megan Banan. So at first I was, as you can tell, I was so confused. I was like, what is going on? This feels like I'm missing something, like I didn't read 2 pages or something. It all made sense. It was like a puzzle. You slowly put the pieces together and then bam, there's the ending. The ending was absolutely crazy. It wasn't a normal love story. It made you just go like, what? I cried. I was just like, why is this happening? I'll show you an art piece. I actually made an art piece based off of this book. I loved it so much. It gave me so much inspiration. The fact that it's set in like Mongolian era-esque gave me like a totally different vibe from all the other books I've been reading, which are mostly fantasy, and it was just so good, and I loved it so much. It was definitely an enemies to lovers, and at the end it'll even make more sense why I say that. You'll see. It's just, I don't think anybody could ever predict that ending from it. Here it is. This is what I made. So yeah, this is supposed to be him when he's old. I'm not gonna tell the entire symbolism of this. You'll know what it means when you read the book. But it's absolutely breathtaking. Not my art, but the story. It's just, it takes your breath away, and it's, I mean, nobody could predict that ending. Okay, so by this time in August, I just started school, and I read Beowulf by an unknown author. It was hard to read, and I hated it. It was 50 pages and felt more like 300. Depending on if I get another book between when I'm filming and later, I think this is going to be the last read of August, and that is How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. 4 stars. It was so informative. It gave you all aspects of the Victorian life. I love like history, especially like 1890s Victorian, Edwardian, 1900s, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was so cool to see how they lived and how everything worked out, because we only see it from our perspective and not from past perspectives. And so that was really cool to check out. She's super informative on everything. It makes it super easy to understand. And it fed my Victorian reveries indefinitely. So here's an overall review of everything I read. My favorite book of the whole summer, the whole year, is The Wicked King. Words can't explain how much I love that book, how well it's written, and just how it made me so happy. It made me cry. It made me do all sorts of things, jumping up and down, I don't know, for joy, because it was just so good. My least favorite book, as you can guess, is Beowulf. That was, my favorite series is The Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. That was amazing. Please read this book. It is, words cannot tell you how much I fell in love with the characters and how much the villain that it introduces, like, my least favorite, as you can guess, is probably the selection, just because it was so basic. There were times I was just like, no, like, get to the point. Like, we all know she's gonna end up with him, so why tease us with another character? Yeah. thank you so much for watching this video to the end. If you enjoyed, don't forget to check out some of my other music and stuff that I normally do. I did this because it was a request of a friend. So if you enjoyed me rating books like this, let me know if you would like to see more future videos similar to this. I'd be more than happy to do stuff like this. I have fallen in love with reading indefinitely, and I just hope that you see my passion in this and that you might even take the time to read some of the books that I have on here. I hope you enjoyed this video. Jesus loves you, and I hope you have the great rest of your day. Bye.